Hello everyone, I'm Alberto Speedy Alves. I'm a study at UNAT. I'm currently taking the 5th semester of Bachelor of English as a Foreign Language. Well, this video is part of the final test of the course language forms and functions, and I basically going to talk about word formations. Word formation process can be made in English by several ways. So as we can see here in this slide, there are several methods such as compounding, blending, derivation, clipping, neologisms, acronyms, and others. So all these processes consist just on make from a shorter and simpler word a longer or even more complex word. Yes. Then in English, derivation is one of the most common processes to make a formation of new words. And besides compounding are the two processes that are responsible for create new words, as I said before. But derivation is just related to the process of adding affixes. Then, as you can see here, there are two kinds of affixes, basically in English. We got prefix that are added before the root, the stem or base word, and suffixes which are added at the end of the stem or base word. So, and also we got some others kind of affixes called infixes, which are inserted inside a word, but in English they are not very common. And let's see what are derivational affixes and which are the types and the difference between them. So the addition of derivational affixes to a root produce, as I said before, a new word, but this kind of affixes made some changes in the new word. So as you can see here, first of all we got a change related to the phonetic, which includes a stress in the change of it, right, in the new word. So as an example, we got here the word reduce. So when we add a suffix on this word, the pronunciation of the phonetical part of the stress of this word is reduction. Another example will be clear, clarity. And the final example that I have here is electricity, which turns into electricity, right? Another change is orthographic. This can produce a change in some letters from the root. We get here pity, pitiful, deny, denial, happy, happiness. So look at the Y is drop out, and we have to add the vowel I when we add any of these suffixes, full, al, or nas. Another change that can be produced when using derivational affixes is semantic, which are considered more complex. Look at the example: husband, husbandry, event, eventual, post, postage. And finally, we have a change in the word category or word class. So as you can see in the example, we got the word drink, which is a verb. When we add the suffix able, it turns into adjective, drinkable. The same happens with the word impress, which is a verb too, and it turns into a noun where we add the suffix "ion," impression. Well, derivational affixes are usually divided into two groups. So, class changing and maintain derivational affixes. Class derivational affixes change the word class to the word to which they are added. And in English, they are usually suffixes. So from this chart, you can see many examples. Let's take the first one, which is a verb, govern. Then when we add the suffix meant, it turns into a new word or derived word, which is a noun, government. The same happens with kind and happy, which are adjectives. And when we add the suffix nest, this adjective turns into nouns, kindness and happiness, beauty, beautiful, happy, happily, music, musical, and so on. Class derivational affixes can also be subdivided in four more types as follows. The first group that I have here are called nominalizers. This is when we produce a noun from a verb or an adjective by adding some suffixes. So here are two examples. All of these are verb like, argue, resign, betray. When we use this kind of suffixes or add to the stem or base word, we made them nouns. Like, leakage, argument, resign, resignation, betray, betrayal. The same happens when we use some kind of adjective and we use this kind of suffixes to make them into, or to turn into nouns. Social, socialist, free, freedom, happy, happiness, pure, purity. The other groups are called verbalizers. It is a suffix which produces a verb from a noun and adjective. Here are some examples. We got some nouns such as terror with the suffix 5. Then it turns into a verb and is terrified. Identity with the same suffix, identify. And look at this. With adjective we got sweet. When we add this suffix and it turns into a verb, sweeten, pure, purify, legal, legalize, deep, deepen. Well, the third group that I have, that I'm going to share or talk about, are adjectivizers. So, this process produces an adjective when from a noun or a verb or another adjective we use some kind of suffix such as I, O's, full, and Y. In the case of nouns. Example, we got thirst, thirsty, danger, dangerous, blood, bloody. And here are some other examples when we use verbs. Got the verb support with this suffix. I've got supportive, acceptable, forget, forgetful, assert, assertive. And the final group that is the least common in this kind of derivational affixes are called verbalizers. Well, we produces adverb from an adjective and a noun. I will illustrate this case with these few examples, such as, well, we got here quick and those suffixes li, which means the way we do something. We got this quick in turn into quickly, terrible, terribly, beautiful, beautiful. And with some kind of nouns such as side, sad way, home, homeward, clock, clockwise. Well, the other big group that are contained into the derivational affixes are called class-maintaining derivational affixes. This group do not change the word class of the word to which they are added, and they are mainly prefixes. So as you can see here, there are some examples of prefix. Then let's analyze this. Then we got here cycle, which is a verb. When we add this prefix, which means do over or again, we got the new word recycle, which is still a verb. The same happened with happy when we add an, which is just the negation of the base word. Then we got the word unhappy. Happy and unhappy are both adjective. And the same happened with pre and miss. Pre, before, pre-right, miss, which is run back, spell, misspell. And here, we got possible, impossible. They are the same class word, adjective. And here in fiction, which is a noun, when we add the prefix non-fiction, which is still a noun. Well, after being reading all the material that has been provided in this course, I have to come to some kind of conclusions. The one is that derivation is one of the most important part of lexicology, because in this way we can enrich or enlarge our vocabulary. Another conclusion is that by word formation processes we mean the different devices which are used in English to build new words from existing ones. And finally, each word formation process results in the production of a specific type of word. Consequently, understanding of this process is one way of studying the different type of words that exist in English. Well, here I just share the reference that I used to support myself on this activity. Well, I expect that this video and this presentation fulfill all the criteria needed for the final test. Thank you very much.